This morning we awoke at some ridiculous hour, 3:30, on the road by 4 o'clock to arrive in Surnabbas, which is our base, and then we went up the hill to dance at the old maypole site at the top of the Sun Giant. So we started dancing on the site at about 5:15 this morning. We danced for at least half an hour, 40 minutes. And then we came down the hill and we did a processional dance into the village, and then we danced for at least another half an hour until the local pub opened and served breakfast. My name is Pete Metcalfe and I'm the squire of Wessex Morrismen.
Don Byfleet. I'm the foreman, and what that means is I teach all the dancing. Morris dancing is a very traditional ritual dance performed mainly by men. It originated in the middle of the 15th century when a certain lady left a silver cup to her daughter engraved with the picture of a Morris man. There is, of course, a lot of theories about it being prehistoric ritual dances and sacrifice and so on, but there is no grounds for this. We wear white stockings, black breeches. Breeches, of course, were worn all through the early 19th century and the 18th century, 17th century, so they're fairly traditional. A lot of sides wear white shirts and white trousers. Now this goes back to the middle of the 19th century when all the farm labourers' best wear was white moleskin trousers, so they just put on their best white trousers, tied some bells around their legs and got some handkerchiefs and ribbons, and that was it. You'll find them wearing all sorts of peculiar things on their heads. The people that get their costumes from the mid-19th century, of course, were top hats and bowler hats and things of this kind, as the sides often did in those days. We wear straw hats, which, as far as I'm aware, aren't really very particularly traditional, but look the part. The handkerchiefs, the rumour goes round that, oh well, you wave handkerchiefs to frighten the evil spirits away, and the clashing of the sticks also drives the evil spirits away. I don't think it's going to be true, because the early pictures, there are a few of them. There's quite a classic one of the mid-1600s, and they're not using handkerchiefs at all. Also sticks weren't introduced into the dance until about the middle of the 17th century, so they can't be really associated with evil spirits and driving them away and so on and so forth. Where the sticks come from, I don't think anybody really knows. It's a good thing to do when you're dancing, you have sticks. This is quite primitive really, isn't it? I mean, a lot of tribes beat time with sticks, and I think it just derives from that. Of course, you had to have a musician who in the old days would have a pipe and tabor, 3-hole single pipe played by one hand and then beat a drum with the other one. Later on, when it got into the 19th century, the violin was introduced, much to the disgust of a lot of the old dancers who couldn't get on with this change of rhythm, as it were. And now, of course, because of the extra volume, accordions and boxes of various sorts are really the chief instrument.
It's time!
When I was about 7 years old, I actually saw Don dancing in the village that I lived in. So this is 40 years ago. But it took me best part of 30 years to muster up the courage to make time to actually sort of go out and do it. It was just something I always thought I'd really like to do, and life's too short, and if you leave these things forever you'll never do them, so that's it. I did it, and I've never looked back really.
Turn on 7. Oh. Turn on 7 with 6 sticks. I got one.
Folk tradition does change. There are new, modern, trendy sides. There are lots of traditional sides who keep the tradition going. There's room in the folk world, in the Morris world, for people of lots of different aspects of Morris dancing.
What you've got to remember is that Morris dancing nearly died out. When it was researched at the beginning of the 20th century by a chap called Cecil Sharp, who was a musician, there were only 3 sides that were regularly operating. All the others had all fallen by the wayside for various reasons. Now this chap collected all the dances and put it in a book, and this then became the Bible really for people that wanted to learn, and for a long time, right up to about 20, 30, 40 years ago, people just went by this book. But then, since then, other people have gone back into the field notes, and it has been altering all the time. And as new sides came into being, they thought, well, we could do better than this, and they have in fact invented new dance. We have a couple of dances of our own that we've invented. But
well, it is a living tradition.
Yes,
It's not dead something that happened in the past. It's happening now. It's happening today. It happened at 5 o'clock this morning, and we did traditional dances, if that's what you want to call them, and we did dances that we've made up. But we brought in the May morning. There we were, and that's the main thing. We're out there doing it.